In the vast darkness of space, New Horizon Colony gleamed like a fragile jewel against the endless black. Nestled on the outer rim of human-controlled territory, the colony represented humanity's persistent hope of expansion and survival. The morning began like any other, with colonists moving through their daily routines, unaware that their world would soon change forever. Ji-hoon Park stood at the central observation deck, his eyes scanning the horizon. As the colony's chief security officer, he had a unique vantage point that most didn't. Something felt different today. The usual calm seemed stretched thin, like a piece of paper about to tear. Distant sensors first detected the anomaly. A massive energy signature emerged from the deep space beyond the colony's protective perimeter. Most of the emergency shuttle shuddered violently as it broke away from the dying colony. Inside, a small group of survivors huddled together, their faces marked with shock and grief. Yoona Kim worked frantically at the navigation console, her hands moving quickly across the damaged interface. Around her, 15 survivors remained, a mix of engineers, medical staff, and a few military personnel who had managed to escape the initial attack. The shuttle was never meant for long-distance travel. It was an emergency vessel designed for short planetary evacuations, not a weeks-long journey through deep space. Ji-hoon Park, still wearing his torn security uniform, checked the emergency supplies. Their resources were limited. Enough food and water for perhaps 7 days, medical supplies for basic treatment, and minimal oxygen recycling capabilities. Every movement and decision would be critical to their survival. The ship's damaged communication systems crackled with intermittent static. Yoona knew they were completely cut off from any potential rescue. No distress signal would reach human territories, at least not immediately. The alien attack had been too swift, too precise. "We need a plan," Ji-hoon said quietly, looking at the small group of survivors. His eyes were tired but determined. Each person carried something: a data drive, a research sample, a piece of critical information that might explain why their colony had been targeted. One of the medical technicians, an older woman named Soo-jin, pulled out a small sealed container. "This might be important," she whispered. The container held genetic research samples that cool. In the deep defense chambers of Earth's orbital command, Admiral Woo-seok stood motionless. Large holographic screens displayed the devastating images of New Horizon Colony's destruction. Cold silence filled the room as military leaders watched the recordings of the alien assault. The attack was unprecedented. No alien civilization had ever struck a human colony with such complete and calculated destruction. Woo-seok's weathered fingers touched the holographic display, zooming into satellite imagery of the devastated planet. "Mobilize everything," he said quietly. His voice carried a weight that made every officer in the room straighten their posture. Within hours, massive starship construction yards began rapid deployment protocols. Ships that had been in long-term maintenance were quickly recommissioned. Advanced weaponry systems, previously kept in strict quarantine, were activated and prepared for deployment. The military's artificial intelligence networks began processing the limited data from the colony's final transmissions. Each fragment of information was analyzed, dissected, and integrated into potential battle strategies. The AI systems worked with a cold, precise efficiency that seemed almost alive. Recruitment centers across human territories received emergency activation orders. Experienced veterans and young cadets alike were called to prepare for potential conflict. The entire human civilization shifted from a peaceful expansion mode to a complete war footing. Specialized research teams worked around the clock, examining. The human fleet moved like a silent predator through the dark expanses of space. Massive battleships, each engineered with cutting-edge technology, glided in perfect formation. Captain Ji-hoon Park's reconnaissance squadron led the advance, their mission critical to the entire operation. Advanced sensors probed the alien territories, mapping weaknesses with mathematical precision. The fleet's artificial intelligence systems processed billions of potential scenarios every second, calculating strike probabilities with inhuman accuracy. Each ship carried weapons that humanity had been secretly developing for decades. Quantum-entangled projectiles that could strike multiple targets simultaneously. Energy disruption fields that could neutralize entire planetary defense networks in milliseconds. These were not just weapons. They were instruments of total strategic annihilation. Ji-hoon studied the holographic displays, his eyes tracking potential invasion routes. The aliens who destroyed New Horizon Colony would soon understand the true meaning of human vengeance. Every calculation, every movement was designed to deliver maximum psychological and physical damage. The reconnaissance squadrons moved like ghosts, invisible to traditional tracking systems. They collected critical intelligence, identifying key infrastructure points, communication networks, and critical defense installations of the alien civilization. Specialized drone units, controlled by advanced AI, infiltrated alien communication networks. They didn't just gather information. They prepared to systematically dismantle the entire communication infrastructure from within. Admiral Woo-suk's voice came through the communication channel. "Prepare for Phase 1 of Operation Nighthawk," he commanded. The words were calm. The final assault began with absolute silence. Space, typically a realm of endless darkness, now became a canvas of calculated destruction. Yoona Kim's specialized weapon systems were about to deliver humanity's ultimate response to the colony's annihilation. Quantum-synchronized strike teams positioned themselves around the alien civilization's critical star systems. Each spacecraft carried enough destructive potential to obliterate entire planetary networks. The human fleet moved with surgical precision, leaving no room for mercy or negotiation. Ji-hoon Park watched from the lead reconnaissance vessel. His eyes reflected the cold calculation of a military strategist who had lost everything. The aliens would learn that attacking a human colony was not just an act of war, it was an invitation to complete extinction. The first wave of attacks targeted communication infrastructure. Entire planetary networks collapsed within minutes. Alien defense systems, once considered invincible, crumbled like fragile glass against humanity's technological superiority. Each strike was calculated, each movement predetermined by advanced artificial intelligence algorithms. Admiral Woo-suk's voice echoed across the fleet's communication channels. "Execute total elimination protocol," he commanded. Those 5 words represented humanity's ultimate response to unprovoked aggression. Specialized energy weapons began systematically dismantling alien planetary systems. Entire star systems went dark, one by one. The destruction was not chaotic. It was methodical, precise, and utterly devastating. Yoona Kim's weapon systems delivered the final blow. The alien homeworld erupted in a silent explosion, spreading destruction across multiple light years. No survivors, no witnesses, just pure, calculated retribution. As the last alien ship disintegrated, Ji-hoon understood the message being sent. This was more than a military operation. This was a statement to the entire universe. Humanity would not just survive. It would ensure that any threat to its people became a fatal mistake of cosmic proportions. The fleet began its return journey, carrying with them the memories of New Horizon Colony. Each soldier, each crew member knew they had just written a new chapter in human history. A chapter written in the language of absolute vengeance. Space returned to its previous silence, with only distant starlight bearing witness to the events that had just transpired. The universe watched, indifferent to the complex drama of survival and retribution that had just unfolded. Humanity had spoken, and the message was clear.